Welcome to the Real Life Weight Loss Podcast, where we cut through the confusion and get down to the truth about what really works for real people when it comes to losing weight, having incredible health, and a body that you love. We believe that losing weight is really about gaining life, doing things you never thought you could, having renewed confidence, and enjoying your body more than ever. I'm your host, Corey Little. Now let's get to it. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. This is episode number 310, and today I am super excited because you're going to get to hear from an amazing lady named Lydia. This is something that I used to do a little more often than I do now. I don't know why, I just fell out of the routine of doing it, but there are incredible people inside my Inner Circle coaching group who are transforming their lives and their bodies in amazing ways, and I need to interview them more often. I need to bring them on and let you hear from them and hear their real life stories, so I will plan to do that moving forward in the future, but today you're going to hear from Lydia. And like I said, she's pretty amazing. She's a mom to 4 wonderful kids. So as you can imagine, she's super busy. And she's also super courageous because she was willing to take the road less traveled and seek out a balanced, realistic approach to weight loss that could be sustainable. That's something she could do for the rest of her life. And that didn't only address her body and the way she wanted her body to change, but also addressed her mindset. And sadly, this can be rare, right? Like a lot of people want to reach for the fad or the trend that promises you can lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks and, have amazing before and after pictures in 4 weeks. That's not what Lydia did. So today, she's going to share her story with you. She's going to explain how emotional eating played a huge role in her life and then the steps she took to get that under control and to really kind of find a lot more peace with that. She'll explain the transformative power that mindfulness and being present with food and being more present with life, the way that totally transformed her life in so many ways. We'll talk about what self-care used to represent to her and what it means to her now, why and how she truly enjoys food more now than ever before, even though she's been trying to lose weight, and that seems to make no sense. You'll get to hear all about that. And she'll explain the freedom and peace that she found as she addressed these vital areas of her life, her weight, her food, which food she was eating and not eating, and how present or not present she was during those times, and then also her physical health. And then she'll also explain a massive mindset shift when it comes to parenting. And so for any and all of you parents out there, especially you moms, this is an episode you do not want to miss. If you're super busy, this is an episode you don't want to miss. Just trust me, guys, regardless. This is an episode you do not want to miss. So we'll get that started in just 1 second. But first, I want to remind everyone of the free resources that I have for you down in the show notes. Just scroll down. You can snag 2 free lessons from my Live Life Lose Fat program. That's the program we use. That's the program that Lydia went through inside my Inner Circle coaching program. So you can snag a couple free lessons from it. You can also, if you're a lady and you're getting towards that critical time of life, I have a free menopause download to help you as best as possible kind of navigate those waters. And then also, if you're interested in maybe taking the next step and learning more about my anti-diet method, you can register for a time to watch my anti-diet class and get all the information on that. So all of that's down in the show notes. Be sure to check that out. But without further ado, enough from me. It's time to hear from Lydia. Let's roll that now. All right, everyone. I'm so excited. I have Lydia with me today, and I was just telling her before we started recording that I'm super excited for her to share a little bit of your story because it's a little bit different. Oftentimes, we equate weight loss success and success with our body and our health with, losing a tremendous amount of weight, 30, 40, 50 pounds, and, dropping 5 sizes or whatever the case is. And there's really, if any of you that listen to this podcast for any amount of time, there's so much more to it than that. And Lydia really exemplifies that. And that's one of the reasons I asked her to come on and do a podcast episode. So Lydia, I want to hand the microphone over to you. If you will, just tell us a little bit about your story, with life, health, weight loss, what you've tried in the past, anything else that you'd like to share in general. So go for it.
Well, thank you. It's such an honor to be here. Well, if I kind of thought about my health journey, it starts, growing up. I was the oldest of 6 children, and it was a wonderful, beautiful childhood, but we did not pay attention to nutrition at all and developed a huge love of sweets. It was definitely our go-to entertainment. And as a child and a teen, I had seen a lot of my loved ones struggle with weight loss and the weight and the burden that comes with that. I could sense, as a kid watching people that I loved, I could sense the burden that they were experiencing. And I knew that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to ever have to deal with those temporary diets. I had seen, teens on Weight Watchers, and I watched people on Atkins and Fen. And when I was in high school, the PE requirements, and I think in let's see, sophomore year. So I was no longer forced to be active anymore, and I didn't really have any sports or anything I was into. So I started putting on a little weight, and I had a high school teacher that loved to run, and that completely blew my mind. Like, I had never met anyone that loved running, because to me it was just torture. But she kind of became a role model for me. And so I decided, I was probably about 16, I decided I wanted to become a runner. So I started running about a half a mile a day. That was about all I could handle. And then I got to college, and I started taking a lot of nutrition and physiology classes, where I learned a lot. And then I moved away and began eating vegetables, which I didn't really do a lot growing up. And I remember my first, oh, you might appreciate this, Corey. I went on my first grocery trip in my new apartment, and I bought a bag of frozen okra. And I still have no idea what to do with that. So, but I was experimenting with new things, because I knew I really wanted to do better than just sugar all the time. And I have a best friend that still makes fun of me to this day, because I went grocery shopping with her, and she was buying a bunch of bell peppers, and I looked at her, I was like, aren't those spicy? Like, why are you buying so many of them? And she just will not let me forget that I didn't know what a bell pepper was. So I was learning a lot in college, and I started running more. I was typically running 3 to 5 miles a day. And I got in pretty good shape doing that. I joined a gym, but I had no idea what to do with anything there except the treadmill. So that's pretty much where I was at. And I got married, started having babies, and I tried to run unsuccessfully through my pregnancies, and it was just too hard. And I started having contractions and stuff. So I just kept walking, and I knew I could walk. So then I had two babies, and I got the double stroller, and walking with kids is interesting. They just want to get out of the stroller, and I did everything I could to like keep them in the stroller, keep them happy. But as soon as you let them out, they are like picking up rocks and toddling around everywhere. They just exercise is kind of not going to happen. But by the time I got to three babies and I switched over to a treadmill, I was able to watch them like through a little window while I was running. And by the time I got to four, I had four children. I had gained some weight. My nutrition was completely out the window, because I was just kind of in survival mode, not sleeping. But I decided that I had gone up several pant sizes, and the answer was running, because that's all I knew, right? So got back on the treadmill, and I'm trying to get back up to 3 to 5 miles a day, like college. Like, I gotta get back to my college. I'm probably about 33, 34 by now. And um, just running as much as I could, but my diet was a mess, and I was just constantly sleep deprived and just trying to get by. But this stage of my life is probably when I found your podcast, Corey, and I just knew what I was doing wasn't working. So I think and it was probably the first one that I listened to. I was like, maybe I'll listen to some podcasts, and your anti-diet method resonated with me so much, because I just knew that I didn't want to jump on and off anything like I had seen people do. And running was not working, and I just didn't want to do that torture of and self-bullying that I had seen other people do. So, and I just felt like you were honest with us. I heard the truth. You weren't promising that I was going to lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks or anything like that. And so I eventually, I think it was Christmas, I was like, I talked to my husband, and I was like, let's do this. My husband's like, okay, yeah, if that's what you want for Christmas. So that's when I joined your inner circle.
Yes. So Lydia said something in there. She said a bunch of incredible stuff in there, and for all of you amazing ladies out there listening, and for the men too, right? I mean, this impacts men, but in a very different way than it impacts women. For many of us, we have a certain ideal for our body, or a certain type of body, or a certain way to manage our body until we really get into life, until like we get married and then we have a full-time job, and then here we go, kids start coming. And like I said, for all of you amazing ladies, I mean, this, it changes a man's life, but it changes your life so much more than a man's life. I mean, it changes your body in such tremendous ways. And then after that is okay, now I have to take care of another human for the rest of my life, at least for, really, intimately for 18 years, for the next 18 years. And so, one child, two children, as Lydia said, she has four, and this can just really, really change things. Now, one of the things that's fascinating, okay, that can really change things, but the unfortunate part that I often see as a coach is people get to the place where they're like, okay, I'm finished having children. Now my body's changed. Okay, now I want to get my body back. And it's like, wait a minute. It's almost like saying I want to give my children back. Like you have forever changed your life in such beautiful and amazing ways, but now we need to maybe embrace a slightly different yet still beautiful version of ourself and our body. And so I think Lydia's done an amazing version of that, but something that she talked about in there, I think is so prevalent with so many people. I don't want anyone to miss it. She said, I thought, okay, I've gone up several pant sizes. I want to get this under control. I need to lose weight. And she said the answer was running. And for so many of you, maybe it's not running, maybe it's keto, maybe it's P90X, maybe it's some other workout program, maybe it's some other diet. But the answer is something. And there's something that you did or have done in the past, and that's what you keep going back to. And I'm not saying it's evil or wrong or bad, but Lydia was wise enough to know, wait a minute, this isn't working. And there's actually a whole nother factor here, which is my nutrition. I think she said something like my diet was a mess. My nutrition was a mess. And so I encourage all of you to maybe think like, what is my answer? When I think of my body and my health and weight loss and my self-care, what is the answer that my brain immediately goes to? Because I think that was a beautiful way that she shared that. Now, Lydia, I was going to ask next, what drives you nuts about the diet and weight loss industry and like the whole process of trying to lose weight? So, but it sounds like for you, you had been able to manage it with running. But are there still things that kind of contribute there, like through your life? Are there things that kind of drove you nuts, or are there things that you were like, man, I felt like that was really holding me back from making progress? So just any combination of all of that.
So, yeah, I've kind of mentioned the burden that I saw family members and loved ones and friends go through when they were dieting, and it just looked like torture. And I just felt these are people that I love and respect, and they're so mean to themselves in their heads, and it just breaks my heart. And so that's what bugs me about the diet industry. And that's another thing, that you're so much more than a number on the scale is what you always say. And that's so true. That rings so true to me. So that's another reason why I just knew that this was a good place for me to start. But as far as like what was holding me back, I definitely lacked skills. I'm life is always changing, but I was juggling new things, and I just had to focus on certain aspects of my life during that time, and I just didn't have the skills that I needed to deal with emotion. That's probably a big root of where my challenge is um, I had no idea how to deal with my emotions other than sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that I've learned a lot from your inner circle, is how to cope with that and not turn to sweets.
I can pretty much promise you, right when you said, I really didn't know how to deal with my emotions other than sugar. There are thousands of people listening right now who are like, "Amen, Lydia, I feel you." Like this is so my story, and it's so rampant. And I don't say that to make anyone feel bad, not at all. But I've taught this and said this before on the podcast. If losing weight and getting healthy was as simple as, oh wait, don't eat this and do eat that, it would be such a simple thing, right? Like none of us would need any further coaching or teaching or anything like that, but there's such a massive, complex intertwining of of all of these things, our emotions and our the, the way we process our day and what's going on in our life and our past history. Like Lydia mentioned, seeing people that she loved who, number one, looked like they were absolutely miserable on a diet, which probably sadly was true, and then number two, knowing they were just so mean to themselves, which breaks my heart. Gang, this is not necessary. Like, we don't have to. You do not have to be mean to yourself to take care of yourself or lose weight. Matter of fact, I believe wholeheartedly that it works against you. Okay, now moving forward. So, uh, you alluded to a little bit of this earlier, Lydia, but what made you decide to join my coaching program?
Um, I just knew that the diet industry was not for me, and I heard a lot of those phrases that you said in your podcast resonated with me, and I just felt like you were telling me the truth. And I was interested to see what more I could learn because, and as a college kid losing some weight, I thought I knew it all, and it wasn't working anymore. So yeah, and I don't know, I just decided to take the jump. I'm like, oh, so what a great way to start a new year. So, and I know any time is a great time to change. That's one thing I've learned. Every moment can be a new beginning. We don't have to wait till Monday. But it was close to the new year when I was like, okay, let's do it.
Hey, amen. Yes, every moment can be a new beginning, and it's really not even a new beginning. It's really just life, right? It's just kind of
Yeah.
all the ups and downs and back and forth, and like we always say in the group, it's just riding the waves of life, and sometimes we get
Mhm.
knocked off the surfboard, but like we just get back and keep rolling. So, all right. So I should know this, but how long have you been in the inner circle right now?
I've actually lost track. It's probably close to 3 years.
Are you
I'm getting up
serious?
up to 3 years. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
gang, you may be like, oh, Lord have mercy. It took Lydia 3 years to get any
No, no, no.
results, and that's not the case. Lydia is still. Sorry, Lydia. I
I
don't
didn't
mean
I
to.
didn't want to go anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm enjoying it.
That's the thing that I try to. Did you see the post I made yesterday in the group about what do we do here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
Yes, I
it's
did.
so tough if somebody hasn't been inside the group, because I get it on the surface. It's like, oh, it's a weight loss program. It's a weight loss group, but we just it's different. It's not just that. Like, we do so much more than that in the community of people, like incredible people like Lydia, who are just wonderful and caring and loving and genuine and authentic, and it's just such an amazing, wonderful place. And there are a lot of people in the group who achieve incredible results in the first 3 months, 6 months, and maybe they get totally to where they want to be within the first year, but they're just like, I don't want to leave. Like, this is such an incredible support group. And so, man, Lydia, for some reason, I lost track too. I thought it was maybe like a year and a half or something like that. 3 years. That's amazing. So, okay. What, when you think back, and it's going to be a little difficult, right? Because it's so long ago, but when you think back, um, I'm going to throw a few questions at you. Number one, when you think back, what's most different for you now compared to then before you joined? Or maybe what surprised you most once you got into the coaching group, like about the process or about what we do or don't do? Um, and I guess maybe what's been the biggest like aha game changer realization for you? So any combination that you want to answer of those, just throwing it out and you run with it.
Okay. So probably a surprise, I suppose, was I jumped in, I was ready to go, and everyone said, slow down, slow down. And so that was a little bit of a surprise, but it also made sense to me to just really take it one step at a time. And I really appreciated that. And it's still what I'm doing now, like every day, just small goals and just focusing on one thing at a time. And so I appreciated that about your program where I'm not having to change my whole life all at once. um, and then some of the changes that I think have happened since joining your group. I never, like, if you would have asked me if
Uh-oh.
mindful meditating, did I lose you?
No, we had just a little glitch there in our connection, but you go ahead, keep going.
Okay. Okay.
You said some of the changes. That was the last thing I got. Pick it
Yeah.
back up.
Okay. So some of the changes were that I never would have expected that I would become a mindful, meditating, deep breaths kind of person, but I'm finding ways to deal with my emotions. And I also have learned, I went from like mindlessly eating to having intention to nourish myself. And it's not even like you've talked about enjoying your food more than ever. And that is so true. Like I've just woken up to a whole new world of like enjoying my food. I usually would just, eat, be done, get on with life, and or not be done and just keep snacking all day and never really tasting it or enjoying it. So that's another huge thing that I've learned. And prayer and meditating and questioning, all of these skills that I've learned um, through this process, navigating my emotions has been a huge part of this for me. Um, and I probably the biggest aha moment for me was something that I had been struggling with since I became a mom, and that is, what is self-care? That was I got all kinds of messages from the internet and social media and things. And for a mom, where does that come in? Where does that fit in? How does that even work? And what if I don't have the funds for this vacation, or what, things, just I had all kinds of confusion about what self-care is. And I have learned a lot about that. It's been just so big for me to learn to be kind to myself and to choose me and future me. And I can do that throughout my day. It doesn't have to be one big event or one trip to somewhere.
So do
And
you
I
mind?
Yeah,
I'm so sorry I'm interrupting, but I
no,
don't want to
that's
miss
okay.
this because I think it's such an incredible point, and it's something that I don't think has ever been discussed on the podcast before. I would love for you, if you're willing, Lydia, to share kind of what did you previously how or excuse me, what or how did you previously view self-care? Like what were examples in your mind of self-care, 2 or 3 years ago versus like how do you see self-care now? It's like specifically.
So I really struggled with the concept because I had seen examples in my life of full sacrifice, full self-sacrifice, no time for exercise or taking care of oneself because the children are needing you, right? I did not, so that's kind of what I stepped into. There's I come last, and that's how it is. And in some cases that's somewhat true, but that doesn't have to be how it is. And I was searching, I saw examples of elaborate self-care, and I just was like, I don't know if that's reasonable for me either. But I found that thinking of my future self and just being kind to myself, even finding joy in mundane moments of life, just being thankful, that was self-care to me. And I was able to find ways to take care of myself by enjoying my food in amounts that my body loves. Um, all different kinds of food. I can still take care of myself and enjoy the sweets and the treats, and then just doing the next right thing when I make a mistake, is also self-care to me. And Corey, once you told me this, and it stuck with me, that I don't have to give everything and more to be all that my family needs. Um, that I can care for myself like I would my child. It's not that much different. I often imagine, if I have a daughter or a friend or a guest or a loved one staying with me, it's in my nature to want to take care of them. If I had a friend who was ill, I would make them soup or things like that. And why can't I do that for myself? Like why was I putting myself, if I'm not feeling well, it's okay for me to take a moment and take care of that. And so that was a really big learning experience for me throughout this process.
Mm. Oh my goodness, Lydia, I'm so happy that you remembered that, and I'm so happy you shared it. And I think that maybe I'm confident there's someone out there right now today that needs to hear that. So, whoever you are, an amazing mom to a bunch of children, maybe you are caring for your aging parents, maybe maybe you're a man, right? Maybe you're not a mom, maybe you're a dad and you're caring for your family and, um, you know, going above and beyond. And maybe what you need to hear today is that you don't have to sacrifice and give all that you are in order to be enough for your family. And like I believe that through and through. And essentially what comes along with that, and it's something we talk about in the group, and Lydia and I've probably had this conversation and she's probably heard me talk about it with others, but we fall into a mindset that it's either or. Either I can take care of my family and all of those loved ones who depend on me. I can take care of them and be amazing and loving and self sacrificial with all of that I do with them. Or I can be this self centered, egotistical, selfish turd who insists on taking care of myself. Right. And it's like, it's either or. And what I am begging all of you to understand, and what we talk about and work through and coach through in the group, is that it's not either or, it's and. You can be an amazing, incredible mom or a loving, supportive dad and take care of yourself at the same time. As a matter of fact, I would say that's a full life, because you're those people who love you the most, your children, your family, all of those people, they want you to take care of yourself. If they truly, genuinely love you, they don't want you to sacrifice yourself constantly, nonstop for them. And then suddenly your mental health and physical health is degrading as they are improving. Anyone that truly loves you, they don't want to see that. They don't want to see you thrive as well. And so this may sound like, oh yeah, that makes sense, or it may sound very simple for me to say, but, and Lydia can attest to this, I'm sure, but it can be really hard to make that leap, especially if that's what's been modeled for you. And I so connected with Lydia on that because I saw my mother do it, and I'm sure she saw her mother do it. And it's like, okay, now I'm giving everything I have to my children. I'm giving everything I have to my family. And it's tough to make that transition. I know you've worked through that quite a bit, Lydia, but did you experience a decent bit of resistance at first?
Yes,
Mm.
definitely. Yeah, I didn't, I had to let go of the guilt. But I also didn't, I don't have to sacrifice what I'm doing for my children either. I mean, if I'm going to be making a meal for my children, I might as well make a healthy one for myself as well. You know, we're all, I don't know, I found ways to fit it into what I'm already doing. And I kind of didn't realize that that was possible. I felt like it's either me time or their time. But I can take care of myself and still live my life and care for my children at the same time. And that is what I had to learn.
Oh, so good. So good. So one last thing that Lydia mentioned in there before we move on, I have like maybe one more question. She mentioned mindfulness, and she mentioned discovering like this whole new love and enjoyment of food that she had maybe never had before. And if you think about it, gang, I want you to slow down for a second. Like, you're listening to the Real Life Weight Loss podcast. Like, aren't we supposed to be talking about the best strategies for losing belly fat? And aren't we supposed to be talking about how you shouldn't eat this or shouldn't eat that? No, Lydia just came on here and talked about how she she developed and found this new love and enjoyment, this whole new level of enjoyment of food that she had never had before. And so much of that comes from between our ears and being mindful and being present. And that's another thing she talked about, was finding joy in what might normally seem like mundane moments of life. And Lydia has been at Lydia, I commend you. She's been an absolute master at navigating these things in life and really working to change your brain. Like, you guys hear me say it all the time. If we want to change our body, we must change our brain, right? Lydia has been amazing at this. She's changed her body. Yes, she's gotten physical results. But what's so much more powerful and what has really transformed her life in some ways is the way she's changed her brain. And so, uh, just the element of mindfulness and presence, because what so many of us don't realize, and Lydia, I'm sure maybe you were doing this beforehand as well, we just check out. We just check out for, like, mentally check out for so much of life. And a lot of that is food. And then we wonder why we want more food. Well, heck, you didn't even think about or enjoy the food you just had. And so I love that you brought that up. Okay. Before I move on, anything to add there, Lydia?
Nope.
All right. All right. I didn't want to trample over anything. So, okay. Here we go. I think this might be, yeah, this may be my last question for you. So, what's the number one thing that you want people to know about losing weight or nutrition or body image or anything in this whole world of weight loss and our relationship with ourself and mindfulness and presence, all this stuff? What's the number one thing that you want people to know about that area? Like if you were still out there listening, right? If you had not just spent, 2 or 3 years with us in the Inner Circle coaching group, if you were still out there listening, what would you want to say to the old version of yourself?
That's a good question. Honestly, I would say to myself, self, remember that time. There was a time when I was just married for a couple of years, and my husband and I sat down and we really had to talk about our finances. And our mortgage was high, and it was just a really stressful conversation and situation. But we took time to nail down our budget. And I know this is not financial, so, but let me connect it here. But when we got our budget figured out, and we had a plan and we figured everything out, I thought I would feel horrible. I thought I would feel like restricted, but I was so amazed at how much freedom I felt. And I would remind myself of that experience, because that is what I would compare this experience to as well. And the freedom that I feel that I have gained from guilt and shame, the freedom that I have to enjoy my food and to prioritize myself and my workouts. And it's just so liberating. And it made no sense to me at the time when we were budgeting. I'm like, how is it that this plan is making me feel so free? It made no sense. I thought it would be restrictive, and it's not. And that's really how I feel about this program too, that it just provides me with that freedom. I think I would also just tell myself, don't quit. I did watch lots of people in the inner circle with lots of success early on, and I was just felt like I definitely had moments where I'm like, what am I doing? But don't quit, and just know that, like, progress is progress. I can't undo a workout. That was something that I had to learn. Like, I think a lot of times in the diet industry, it's like, oh, I put in all this work and then I ate this meal and now I undid everything.
And I ruined it.
I ruined it. I ruined it all. But every little good step in the right direction is a step in the right direction. So anyway, that's probably what I would say to my old self, is just that don't quit, and there's so much freedom to be found as we work on our health journey.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm out of line. I'm gonna throw in a last question, part B, if that's okay.
Okay.
You have 4 children. How old is your oldest?
He is almost 12.
12. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there are moms out there who maybe just had their first child, or maybe they just had their second or third, and so you're a little further down the road than they are, and they haven't had the experience that you've had of finding so much more peace and freedom in this area of your life, right? And maybe they're worried sick about their body, and they're fretting about, how am I going to get back in shape or whatever, right? How am I going to lose this weight? And yet they maybe feel some of the things we talked about of like, well, now, like, I can't, right? Like it's time to be there for my children and my family, and I can't do it. So is there any little special words of wisdom that you might have for those amazing moms out there?
I don't know about words, but I definitely have a lot of feelings of love for those women, because that's such a challenging time of life. And I would just say to be kind to yourself, be patient. There's so much life still left. And I think when we're raising those babies, it feels like it is forever. It feels like you are never going to have a toddler that can, walk, or even a child who can tie their own shoes. Like, just the stress of getting out the door all the time. It's just a very challenging time. And I've seen women do it very gracefully, and it's not as hard for them. But for me, it was definitely hard. And it's very hard not to beat ourselves up and to feel like we're failing as parents. But I just feel love. Just know that you are doing wonderfully, better than you know, and be kind and be patient with yourself, just like you do with your child.
Mm. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. So now I just want to say a gigantic thank you to Lydia. I'm on the East Coast of the United States. Lydia's on the West Coast. And she agreed to do this podcast because, as you can imagine, she has 4 children and a very, very busy schedule. And so she agreed to do this and take time out of her schedule, which one makes me super thankful. Number two, she's doing it super early in the morning. We're recording this. It's really early for her. It's not even daylight there yet. And so I just want to thank her from the bottom of my heart. And then I also want to say this, Lydia, I salute you. I applaud you because you have been a testament to what this program is really all about, what I envision and dream of for people, which is, yes, I want people to lose weight. But as I always say here on the podcast, losing weight is really about gaining life. And you've exemplified that in so many ways. You have gained so much freedom and peace and life throughout this process. And that is because of you, not because of me, not because of the program. It's because you kept coming back. You kept showing up. You kept taking steps. You kept doing the work. And because you just never quit. You just thought, well, hey, I'm just going to keep walking along this path. I'm just going to keep moving along this journey. And so I salute you for that. And I give you full credit for all the results you've gotten. You're a rock star and you're amazing. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Corey. I know you won't take any credit, but I appreciate all your guidance and coaching along the way.
Well, you are very welcome. It's been my pleasure and my honor. All right, gang, that's it. We will wrap it up.